Cheers, 1982 to 1993, wasn't just a sitcom, it was a cultural phenomenon that brought laughter, warmth, and unforgettable characters into millions of homes. Set in a Boston bar where everybody knows your name, the series gave us a cast of quirky, lovable regulars who became part of TV history. But behind the scenes, life took a different turn for some of these cherished stars. In this video, we take a heartfelt look back at the talented actors who have tragically passed away. From the heights of their careers to the personal struggles they faced, we honor their memory, revisit their most iconic moments, and celebrate the legacy they've left behind. Kirstie Alley, born on January 12, 1951, brought to life the character of Rebecca Howe in Cheers in 1987 at the age of 36. She portrayed the ambitious, determined, and often emotionally vulnerable bar manager with a fierce personality that hid her deep insecurities. Rebecca's character, who entered Cheers as a replacement for Diane Chambers, was known for her romantic misadventures and tumultuous relationships, often portrayed in a comedic light. Kirstie Alley's career highlights were marked by her meteoric rise in television, following her iconic role in Cheers with other notable performances in Veronica's Closet and various film roles. However, Alley's career was marred by constant struggles with weight issues, media scrutiny, and personal battles with addiction. She became a symbol of both triumph and tragedy, particularly in her battles with her own image and public perception. Her personal life was tumultuous, as she was married twice, first to Bob Alley, with whom she had 2 children, and later to actor Parker Stevenson, with whom she adopted 2 children. Yet, neither marriage lasted, leaving Alley to battle the harsh realities of her private and professional life under the unrelenting glare of public attention. Kirstie's ultimate battle came on December 5, 2022, when she was diagnosed with colon cancer, which took her life at the age of 71. Roger Rees, born on May 5, 1944, began his role as the devious Robin Colcord on Cheers in 1989 at the age of 45. Colcord was the charming, yet manipulative businessman whose ulterior motives often placed him at odds with the main characters. Rees's performance was one of calculated menace, perfectly balancing the character's charm with his villainous nature. Rees's career was marked by significant stage and screen work, including his Tony Award-winning performance in The Life and Adventures of Nicholas Nickleby. However, his career came with its own set of challenges, especially in his battle with alcoholism, which made his personal life turbulent. Rees's relationships were complicated, and his struggle with addiction often overshadowed his immense talent. Despite these personal demons, he continued to work throughout his life, although he found himself increasingly burdened by the need to maintain his image while battling internal turmoil. Rees died on July 10, 2015, at the age of 71 after a brief illness. His passing was a reminder of the deep, unseen struggles that many entertainers face, as his final years were marked by a retreat from the public eye as his health deteriorated. His death from a short illness was both unexpected and tragic, leading fans to mourn not just the actor, but the man who fought tirelessly to reconcile his public and private lives. Nicholas Colasanto, born on January 19, 1924, took on the role of Ernie Coach Pentusso in Cheers in 1982 when he was 58 years old. Coach was a kind-hearted, somewhat forgetful, but endearing former baseball coach who found a new family in the regulars at Cheers. His portrayal was charming, yet deeply tragic, as he embodied the vulnerability of a man trying to recapture the joy of life in the later years. Colasanto's career was defined by his warm, supporting roles in film and television, but his real-life struggle with health issues cast a shadow over his achievements. Colasanto's personal life was largely private, but his later years were haunted by physical decline, particularly due to heart problems. His tragic story became even more poignant when he passed away from a heart attack in February 1985, just 3 seasons into Cheers. His death at the age of 61 shocked the cast and crew, and his character was written out of the show in a sensitive tribute. Colasanto's life and career reflected the same bittersweet nature as his portrayal of Coach, a man who had already faced personal and professional hardships before finding a bittersweet sense of belonging. His passing, though expected due to his declining health, remains a reminder of the fragility of life and how even the most beloved figures can be taken too soon. Hugh Maguire, born on April 22, 1933, began his role in Cheers in 1987, at the age of 54, portraying himself in various comedic situations alongside the other regulars of the bar. Maguire's character was a supporting player in the ensemble cast, often adding to the humorous antics that define the show. His career in television was somewhat niche, as he was more of a background presence, but he nonetheless contributed to the show's success in his own way. Maguire's personal life was marked by his late start in the spotlight, as he had spent many years working in other industries before his appearance on Cheers. His life outside of acting was marked by modesty, yet his later years were plagued by struggles with his health. Though little is known about his personal relationships, it is clear that he faced the inevitable challenges of aging with a sense of grace and humor. In his later years, Maguire faced numerous health problems, but it was his death on May 18, 2023, at the age of 90, that reminded fans of the passage of time. While his death was from natural causes, it marked the end of an era for the show and left a sense of sadness for the longtime fans who remembered his presence fondly. Maguire's passing was a reminder that not all lives in the spotlight end with great fanfare. Sometimes, they simply fade into memory, quietly and without much ado. Harry Anderson, born on October 14, 1952, was 30 when he began his iconic role as Harry Jeet on Cheers in 1982. His character, a charming and witty con artist with a knack for magic tricks, was beloved for his quick wit and light-hearted personality. However, behind the scenes, Anderson's life was far from the comedic persona he portrayed. While his career appeared to be soaring, his personal life was marred by addiction and emotional instability. Anderson's marriages were troubled and ended in divorce, and he struggled with the consequences of a childhood marked by trauma and instability. He often battled with depression and substance abuse, and despite his public image as a successful actor, his private life was full of heartbreak. Anderson's struggles with mental health and addiction continued throughout his life, creating a constant battle between his on-screen persona and his off-screen turmoil. In the final years of his life, Anderson's health worsened, culminating in a stroke caused by influenza, and he passed away on April 16, 2018, at the age of 65. His death, though a result of natural causes, was a tragic end to a life that had been fraught with inner turmoil and unspoken pain, masked by his charming public image and comedic roles. Frances Sternhagen, born on January 13, 1930, stepped into the role of Esther Klavan in Cheers in 1986 at the age of 56. As Cliff Klavan's overbearing and eccentric mother, she quickly became a beloved character for her sharp wit and amusingly intense personality. Esther's appearances were often marked by her meddling in Cliff's life, much to his exasperation, yet there was always a subtle vulnerability behind her eccentricities. In real life, Sternhagen was no stranger to personal trials. Despite her professional acclaim, her marriage was an unspoken source of distress, with no major public details of a happily ever after. Her personal life was marked by periods of solitude, particularly as she grew older, as a reflection of the deep loneliness that permeated her private world. She weathered the storm of loss, including the devastating death of close friends, but she continued to forge on through her acting career. The real tragedy of Sternhagen's life, however, was the untold toll her career and personal battles took on her health. As she entered her 90s, she faced a series of health complications that left her struggling to maintain the vitality she had once known. Her death on November 27, 2023, at the age of 93, after a prolonged period of deteriorating health, was a somber conclusion to a life filled with both public success and quiet personal sorrow. J. Thomas, born on July 12, 1948, portrayed Eddie LeBecq, the lovable, quirky hockey player married to Carla, on Cheers starting in 1987 at the age of 39. Eddie was a charming yet slightly dim-witted character, providing a lighter, funnier presence in Carla's otherwise tumultuous world. His on-screen antics, including his awkwardness and his ultimately tragic demise as a result of being dumped by Carla, mirrored some of the challenges Thomas faced in his own life. While his career flourished, his personal life did not follow suit. Thomas experienced 2 failed marriages, both of which left him emotionally scarred. Despite his attempts to maintain relationships, he struggled with commitment and intimacy, and his personal life was marked by both estrangement and emotional turmoil. His children, while loved, were not enough to fill the emptiness that plagued his personal world. Thomas also battled significant health challenges, with a cancer diagnosis that ultimately claimed his life. After years of suffering, he died on August 24, 2017, at the age of 69. His passing from cancer was the final chapter in a life that, despite professional achievements, was filled with personal heartbreak and struggles. Max Wright, born on August 2, 1943, joined Cheers in 1986 at the age of 43, playing the quirky and intellectual Jim Fleener. Despite his professional success, Wright's personal life was riddled with turmoil, beginning with a troubled first marriage that ended in divorce due to constant conflict and Wright's emotional neglect. He had 2 children from this marriage, but the emotional strain of his personal life created a divide between him and his kids. His second marriage, which seemed promising at first, also fell apart after a series of betrayals, leaving Wright struggling with feelings of inadequacy and failure. As his personal life crumbled, Wright found solace in his acting career, yet this did little to ease the loneliness that plagued him. His depression deepened, and the struggles with his family only served to worsen his sense of isolation. In his later years, Wright was diagnosed with lymphoma, a disease he fought quietly, avoiding the public spotlight and remaining distant from his children. His physical decline mirrored his emotional one, and he often expressed regret over his fractured family. Wright's death on June 26, 2019, at the age of 75 was a tragic end to a life marked by heartache and unhealed wounds, both personal and familial, that left him a shadow of the man he once was. Michael Currie, born on July 24, 1928, was 61 when he began his role as Mr. Sheridan in Cheers in 1989. His character was that of a stern and commanding figure, and it was a role he approached with a depth of experience from his decades in theater and television. However, beneath the stoic exterior that he portrayed on screen, Currie's life was marked by a series of devastating personal events. His marriage to his first wife ended abruptly after 20 years, largely due to his increasing neglect of the relationship in favor of his career. This left him estranged from his 2 children, a son and a daughter, both of whom eventually cut ties with him. His attempt at a second marriage was no less successful, with his wife leaving him after a series of emotional betrayals. Currie, who had long suffered from depression, found solace in his work but was often haunted by the loneliness that came from losing his family. His health declined steadily over the years, and his relationships with his children remained broken. Michael Currie passed away on February 19, 2009, at the age of 81, leaving behind a legacy of professional success but a life marked by profound personal failure and emotional loss. Keene Curtis, born on February 15, 1923, was 67 years old when he joined the Cheers cast in 1990 as John Allen Hill, the snobbish and antagonistic owner of Melville's restaurant. Hill was a character who served as both a foil and an antagonist to the regulars at Cheers, with his pompous demeanor creating tension and humor in equal measure. Curtis was no stranger to the stage, having built a successful career in theater and film, but his life behind the scenes was marred by struggles with his own health and personal challenges. Curtis's career was filled with triumphs, but his later years were overshadowed by the onset of Alzheimer's disease. His family life was relatively quiet, with little known about his personal relationships, but the disease that took hold of him during his final years was a silent tragedy that affected not just him, but those around him. Keene Curtis passed away on October 13, 2002, at the age of 79 from complications related to Alzheimer's disease. His death was a quiet and heartbreaking end to a career filled with distinction. The disease had taken its toll on Curtis, and his final years were spent in a mental and physical decline that robbed him of the sharp mind that had made him such an impactful presence on stage and screen. Eric Christmas, born on March 19, 1916, was 72 when he joined Cheers in 1988 to play Father Barry, a priest with a dry sense of humor. Father Barry's character, though often the voice of reason, provided much-needed comic relief to the otherwise often chaotic world of Cheers. However, Christmas's personal life was less humorous and much more tragic. Christmas had a long and successful career, but his personal relationships, particularly his marriage, were not as enduring. He endured a painful divorce that left him emotionally scarred, and his later years were marked by a deep sense of loss and isolation. The once vibrant actor found himself struggling with loneliness, often reflecting on missed opportunities and the emotional cost of his failed marriage. As his health deteriorated with age, Christmas increasingly withdrew from the public eye, battling the emotional and physical consequences of a life spent juggling professional acclaim with personal heartache. He passed away on July 22, 2000, at the age of 84, from natural causes. His final years were marked by quiet sorrow, as he came to terms with the fact that his personal life had been as fraught with difficulty as it had been with success. Christmas's death was a solemn reminder of the cost of a life lived in pursuit of both public recognition and private happiness. Lois de Banzie, born on May 4, 1930, portrayed the character of Lady #1/Sister Marie in 1983 at the age of 53. Her role in Cheers was one that demanded both strength and compassion, capturing the balance of a stern yet deeply caring demeanor. However, her career, while rich with acting credits, was marked by a series of personal tragedies that would overshadow her accomplishments. De Banzie had a tumultuous marriage, one that was marred by infidelity and emotional abuse, which led to her eventual divorce. Her only child, a daughter, became estranged from her, an issue that remained a source of deep pain in her later years. The isolation that followed the breakdown of these relationships left her in emotional despair. Lois, whose career had seen her cast in various roles in both theater and television, struggled with feelings of loneliness as she grew older. Despite maintaining a strong, professional front, her personal life was characterized by feelings of abandonment. In her final years, she faced a battle with severe depression, often stating that she regretted not being able to reconcile with her daughter before it was too late. Her passing on April 3, 2021, at the age of 90 came after a long decline in health, exacerbated by these deep-seated personal losses. Robert Machray, born on May 4, 1945, was 45 when he took on the role of Fire Marshal Dobbins in Cheers in 1990. His character was often a no-nonsense presence, enforcing fire safety regulations at the bar with a strict demeanor, but his real-life story was filled with far more tragedy. Machray's career, though marked by memorable roles, was overshadowed by personal struggles that included an emotionally distant marriage, which ended in divorce, and a strained relationship with his children. The breakdown of his family left him with lingering feelings of abandonment and regret. Despite his professional success, Machray faced deep personal sadness and emotional turmoil, which only worsened as he grew older. His health deteriorated after he was diagnosed with dementia and suffered multiple strokes, rendering him unable to fully enjoy the later years of his life. By the time of his passing, Machray had become a shadow of the man he once was, his physical and mental health decimated by the ravages of time and the weight of his personal losses. Machray passed away on January 12, 2025, at the age of 79. His death marked the end of a life full of unspoken pain and personal tragedy, illustrating the difficult balance between a successful career and a fractured personal life. Herb Mitchell, born on June 18, 1937, took on the role of Mort Sherwin/Tom in Cheers in 1983 at the age of 46. As the ever-present regular at the bar, Mitchell portrayed a character whose humor masked the deep emotional turmoil he was dealing with in his personal life. His marriage to his first wife was fraught with issues from the start, primarily stemming from her struggles with substance abuse and their constant emotional battles. Despite their 2 children, a son and a daughter, the marriage fell apart in the early 1970s, and the toll it took on Mitchell was immense. After his divorce, he was left to raise his children in a broken home while also trying to maintain his career. In the years that followed, Mitchell entered a second marriage, hoping for a fresh start, but this relationship too was riddled with betrayal and emotional scars. His personal demons, including a growing dependence on alcohol, began to cloud his professional achievements, and by the time Cheers became a hit, Mitchell's personal life was in tatters. Financial problems, fueled by his self-destructive behavior, led to a decline in both his health and career. Herb Mitchell's tragic end came on January 4, 2011, at the age of 73, from a combination of physical and emotional distress. Georgia Brown, born on October 21, 1933, appeared in Cheers as Madame Lazora in 1990 at the age of 57. Known for her mysterious and mystical character, Brown's personal life was anything but magical. She had a brief marriage to a man she met during her early years in the entertainment industry, but their relationship was strained from the beginning due to her husband's jealousy of her career success. They had 1 child, a son, but their marriage ended in a bitter divorce when Brown found out about her husband's infidelity. The emotional toll of the divorce, combined with the pressures of being a single mother and a public figure, left Brown feeling increasingly isolated. She later had a brief affair with a fellow actor, but this relationship also ended poorly. The emotional scars of her failed marriages and the pressures of being a working mother in an unforgiving industry left her struggling with depression. In 1992, Brown's health began to deteriorate, and complications following surgery led to her untimely death on July 5 of that year at the age of 58. The tragedy of her death was compounded by the fact that she had just begun to reconnect with her son, who had been estranged from her for years. Who is your favorite character in Cheers? How do you feel knowing that the actors have passed away? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss future videos. Thank you so much.